All right, let's get involved. All right, good afternoon. Welcome, my friends, to AfterCut, a series about post-processing and processing post. My name is Eric Hackler. I am a photographer, editor, cinematographer, writer, director, fight choreographer, occasional actor, and today we're doing photography. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad that I get to share this process with you, and I'm really excited with the photos I'm working on. So, yeah, welcome to the stream, welcome to the channel, welcome to the adventure. Today we're doing a bunch of photos. We're doing some pet photos, some puppy shots. We're also doing some shots of birds that I took when I was out with a photographer friend of mine. And if we have some time, we got some landscapes that I want to play with. Especially there's an HDR photo that I want to see if I can make happen that I'm excited about, because if it works, it'll be a gorgeous shot. Yes, that's what we're going to be doing. As always, this is the reason I do this, and the reason I stream this process is because post-production and post-processing, either of photos or film, are not super well talked about. They're not widely discussed, and if they are discussed, if we are talking about the process of editing, it's usually behind a paywall. It's a long process. There's a lot of little adjustments, so it's not super showy, but it's hugely important. And I do this to share my experience, to share my process, and hopefully, give you something to take away from it. Either something you can employ in your own photography, a way of seeing photos differently, or just a way of interacting with the world around us in a different way. Just a chance to kind of bask in each other's creativity. That having been said, as much as this is my platform, I would like to share it as much as I can. So if you are a creator, if you are an artist, if you are a photographer, a writer, anything, if you spend part of your day creating, I would love you to share your work, to drop the stuff that you do kind of in chat, or if you're watching this on YouTube later, share your work in the comments, and that way we can all enjoy the work that you do as well, and can share that and can be part of it. So, with that all having been said, and I'm actually on a roll today because I'm getting this intro done quicker than usual. Let's go ahead and let's jump into Lightroom. So here's our first photo. This is adorable. This is Theo. Theo is just the best. So we got a bunch of puppy photos. We're gonna start with that. We're probably gonna jump around between the three kind of collections of shots that I've got planned for today. But I couldn't resist starting with Theo, and with her adorable sister Audrey, who is here. This is Audrey. She's also perfect. These are just things to know. Let's see. We're gonna start with this one. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started on this. We're gonna go through there's anything else I need to say. I'm gonna go ahead and click this to sort by 1 star, because I've already gone through and sorted out what are my favorite photos, or not my favorite photos, but the ones I want to work on. And for you who are new to my stream, if you are, the way I sort my rating system is based on it's a work in progress system. So 1 star means I think this is a good shot that I want to play with. 2 stars is in progress. 3 stars is pretty much done, ready for export. And then 4 and 5 stars is if I need to pick. If someone's like, hey, I want to see all the pictures of Theo, I can go through and make them all 4 stars, and then I can export that as a collection really easily. Okay, that looks pretty balanced. Just want to center Theo in the frame. That's pretty good. I could bring this in closer. I don't really want to. The Theo being this beautiful white and spotted element in the middle of this thing is great. That's where her ball is, which means that's one of her other toys that she brought out and kept handing to people. Okay, so let's start. Let's see. I want to brighten up some of this, but I think I want to brighten the shadows more than I want to brighten the highlights. Bring the highlights up a little bit. I don't want to lose the beautiful spots and the detail in her coat. So yeah, that's a pretty good start. Texture will be good, but I think texture is going to be masked specifically. Clarity is not what I'm going to do much with, I don't think. Like maybe a bit. I'm gonna play with some masking. Dehazing, not on this one. This is not a photo to dehaze. Let's see, whites, kind of okay. Blacks, No, don't want to adjust the blacks. Do I want to bring them down a little bit? Not really. If I bring the whites up a little more, just give myself a little more contrast in there, I think that's good. I'm going to do some fun with color. But let's go ahead and get some masking done. I think I can do... Lightroom's masks are hit or miss when it comes to... Or subject and background masks are hit or miss when it comes to people. Or when it comes to not people. That's pretty good, though. That's actually pretty spot on. Let me do this as a black and white overlay. Just because there's so much green in the shot. Okay. I'm going to add with a brush. I'm going to zoom in here. I just want to get Theo's paw. It's a small detail, but I think it's important. And we're always going to get a little bit of the grass there, and I don't think that's too much of an issue. We're not doing too many lighting adjustments, which is good. Cool. This is also paw down in there. Yeah, we're not doing too much lighting and color adjustment, so I think I'm okay with this. Okay, so there's Theo. Let's do, if you're playing the AfterCut drinking game, we're gonna start off with a duplicate and invert, because say that way too much. Take a shot. Cool. All right. So we got our background and we got our foreground. And for starters, I do want to bring up the texture on Theo. I think that's a good idea. I think that'll make her stand out nice. I'm gonna have some fun with the color on this and brightening up her tongue and the ball and so on. That looks good. I think I'm gonna bring that up a little bit less. Do I want to play with the clarity? No, I want her to be. The thing about clarity tends to, and texture a little bit to some degree, but I think clarity more so in this case tends to really sharpen your edges. It tends to give you, like, it makes your detail, it pulls your details out, puts a little contrast on them, and that's great, but it doesn't make things look fluffy. And Theo is very fluffy, and I want to keep Theo's fluff intact. So cool. That's pretty good. Let's come back to our other mask, though. This one I might actually want to play with clarity on. Because playing with clarity on the grass brings out the texture of the grass and makes Theo seem like the fluffy thing amidst some sharper edges. So I think I'm going to bring that up. I want to bring the texture down, though, a little bit to soften it a little. It's a little bit strong. I like the contrast and I like the detail, but I don't want to overdo it. So up the clarity, lower the texture, gives me a good mix, and that way Theo stays fluffy in the middle and everything else has an appropriate level of harshness to it. All right, let's see what the next thing is. Let me check. I want to check out Theo's eyes here. Oh, they look good. Okay, we're going to work on Theo's eyes in a second. There's two other masks I want to make. I want to try one with a color range. I know I talk fast, so let me know if I'm going too fast at any point. I'm going to try a color range. I want to see if I can get this ball. Okay, I got everything. That is a little bit too, there we go. Let's bring that down, and then we can subtract with a brush, and we can get rid of this up here. We can get rid of the tongue. And so now we just have the ball. Let's zoom in and check that. Yep, got the ball. Perfect. I think that spot right there. Add brush. I think that spot's technically a blade of grass, but I want to go ahead and, there we go. That's better. Cool. All right, we've got that mask. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with that yet. We'll come back to that. New mask, brush. All right, now we're going to do some eyes. There's a couple different ways to do eyes. My preference is to, in this case, do them with a brush, because then I can get both of them I can kind of draw them in, and I can get both as a radial, or I could do two radial gradients, but these eyes are a little bit less, like, they're not even super ovular. They're a bit of a bean shape. So okay, cool. So let's go ahead and adjust that, because I know I want to bring up I know what I want to do with them. So highlights, shadows. Yeah, bring up the shadows there. Brighten those things up. Saturation, honestly, kinda no. I think these are better if they're a little desaturated. Yeah, we'll see. Clarity. The thing about clarity with eyes is that you can make them look really beautifully glassy. You can get some really nice reflections in there. Texture, same deal. It brings out the little details and makes them look absolutely crystalline. Let's see, bring up the whites a bit. Yeah, brightening that up a little bit is good. I want to maybe a little bit. I don't want to go too far. I'm happy with that. That looks good. That draws your attention to her eyes, makes them absolutely beautiful. I've got a couple shots of her that have where you can almost see reflections in her eyes. I got some really good close-ups of her. So we will be talking about that as well. But okay, good. This is looking pretty great as a starting point. let's come down here to color. Color's where I want to play. All right, so step one. Weirdly, step one, I want to play with some blues. So, because she's got a lot of blue in her, and I want to take that down, but I want to brighten it up. There we go. Let's see, purple and magenta. Those gonna be the ones. Those gonna be the ones for the tongue and the mouth. I'll bring that up a little bit. More than that, I'm gonna come down to the brightness. I'm gonna brighten those up. There we go. Red probably as well. Yep. Let's bring up the reds. Bring up the saturation on them a tiny bit. Just get some nice exciting highlights in that. Really draw your attention to it. Is it any How to Train Your Dragon fans? I feel like she looks like Toothless in this photo, like the dragon tooth. Like she's got the big goofy happy mouth and the eye. Yeah, just real pretty. Okay. Orange. Now orange is going to be in a couple of spots. This might be a spot to use yeah, I think I'm gonna have to use the mask to get the ball the way I want it to look, because I'm not gonna be able to brighten the oranges without brightening up everything. And a little bit of brightening here I think is good. I think that brightens up her face nicely, but I don't want to. If I push the saturation to where I want it to get the ball brighter, now I'm making a lot more yellow in there than I want. And if I use the yellow slider, I end up affecting the grass a bit more than I want to. Though I don't mind that, but I can do that with a green. Pushing the greens up gets this gorgeous lush look to it. Could brighten it, could darken it. I'm pretty happy with where it is, honestly. I might even just a little bit of brightness just to really fill it out, but yeah, that looks really good. I'm really happy with how pretty this is. Okay, only other thing left to do, go back to our ball mask, which is here. That's a weird sentence to say. We're just gonna live with that existence. Okay, we're gonna push the saturation up. We're going to now the part of the reason, let's see. Now part of the reason this thing isn't showing up super well is because it's got a lot of white in it. So I'm going to turn the highlights down and bring the shadows also down. Yeah, I'm bring that all down a little bit. So that ball is a little bit overexposed, and so if I darken it, the colors will pop more nicely. If I dehaze, that's going to be super aggressive in a way I don't necessarily want. It's a bit much. Texture's brightening again. We're going to turn texture down. Okay, so now we can sort of see the ball. We're not going to get it to be super saturated. It was never. I was hopeful wasn't going to happen, but let's see, contrast. Nah, at some point that's losing detail. Let's zoom in and take a look at that real quick. Yeah, it looks all right. It's a little bit fringy, but I don't think it matters too much given the concept. That makes me pretty happy to look at. That looks adorable. That's Theo. Theo is great. Theo gets 3 stars and is ready to go. All right, let's pick one for Audrey. Let's do a good shot of Audrey. Oh, here we go. Here's Audrey sitting here being just the perfectest. Look at her. Look at the happy face. Which one of these do I want to do? These are both. Oh, that's even better. That's the happier pup. Okay. So first thing, we're going to bring this down a little bit. We're going to crop this in and crop in here. Get her nice and centered. Let's give a little more space on this side. There we go. Something like that. That's good. That puts her right where I want her. Look at Audrey. She's good. All right. So step one, yep, highlights up, shadows up as well. Oh, look at the light in those eyes. We're gonna have fun with that. Let's see. Okay, you know what? I'm actually gonna start off by syncing these 2 photos because I think that'll make a difference. Let's check all, and then we're gonna uncheck the crop. We're gonna uncheck these 2 masks because the first 2 masks are subject and inverted, so those we can apply. The other 2 are more specific to this Theo photo, so I don't want to do that yet. Let's go ahead and synchronize. And it's gonna take a second, so it's a chance to have a drink. Okay, here we go. Let's look at Audrey. That looks good. The difference before and after. Okay, plenty of work to be done here, and I'm excited to do it. All right. Let's see, where do we start? All right, let's go back to masking. All right, so that actually is almost perfect in terms of getting Audrey. I'm very happy with that. Let's go back to this brush here. Let me see the overlays. Okay, some of those brush spots that we got rid of, we can get rid of that brush. So just subject, because this one really got the subject almost pretty much perfectly. And then here, same deal. We've got a brush that was getting rid of some stuff. Let's get rid of that so that it's same deal. Excellent. Okay. Let's work on Audrey first. Now, unlike Theo, Audrey, like this photo has a little more texture already, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that back. I'm not sure I need to do too much with the texture here. Yeah, I'll say a little bit, not too much. I want to push up the saturation on Audrey, but I want to do color work first because unlike Theo, who stands out really beautifully in black and white from the grass around her, Audrey being a beautiful yellowy color, I want to bring that up on her. And I want to start that with color, and then I'll come back and up the saturation if I need to. Oh man, she looks so pretty. All right, let's put that texture all the way back down. I don't think the texture's doing us any favors right now. I think that looks great as is. Let's see. Highlights and shadows up a little bit I think is a good idea. Actually, let's put the highlights back. Let's bring the shadows up a bit. Take it back. Highlights up a bit. And then blacks down just a touch, just to keep that contrast going. She looks so pretty. Honestly, I kind of want to bring the texture down a little bit, because I don't want to lose the fluffiness. Why bring the clarity down? Clarity down a little bit, actually, I think helps. And then if I come up to contrast and pull the contrast down a little, that looks good. That's the Audrey I know. And that's the thing. This is portrait photography, and the same is true for animal portraits. That looks pretty good. Let's bring the clarity down though. I think that's yeah. Portrait photography, and this is true of animal portraits as well, is about personality. It's about conveying the personality of your subject as well as you can. And in this case, because I know Audrey is like, she's a big silly goof, who is also like just super happy to be involved with stuff. Yeah, she doesn't need to be. We could do a very severe version of this photo. I don't want to do that. That's not what we need. Let's see. Let's do a new mask. And this is going to be the eyes. So we'll do a brush. We'll zoom in just a little bit. And we'll get some eyes. So we'll do it like that. And we'll do it like this. Cool. There we go. So now we can bring up the highlights, which will just bring out some color. Shadows as well. We'll definitely bring up the shadow. I love that you can see reflections there. That's super cool. I'm going to bring this back because it's easy to overdo this when you're zoomed in all the way. Like, I think I just overdid the highlights a bit. Let's see. Texture. Texture is brightening. It's a bit much, but I like it. Clarity. Again, clarity gives you that nice glassy look. I think I'm going to bring the clarity up and let the texture come down a bit and have a little bit of that. Makes her eyes pop so beautifully. Let's put the highlights back. Yeah, I think that's the right balance to strike. Bring the whites up again, kind of overdoing it. We'll come back to that if we need to. Blacks down a bit, kind of compensates, because that's the thing, is that glassiness. By bringing the clarity up, you can end up in a position where like you end up with. I feel like we're getting this a little bit with her, where it almost feels like she's staring at us a little bit too much, and starts feeling a little bit aggressive, or a little bit overdone. So I want to compensate for that while still preserving the beauty that is her. I can bring up the saturation, but because I'm gonna be using like playing with the orange sliders later, I think this is fine. I actually might want to end up desaturating this once we get into it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's come down and play with color. All right, so obviously we've already brightened up. Ooh, brightening up the collar there is a good idea. That's pretty. Let's see. Brightening up the tongue a little bit. Tongue doesn't need to be super bright. A little bit like that. Blues. Okay, there's a decent amount of blue on her because the whites are coming in that way. Let's put that kind of. Orange and yellow are gonna be more important. Let's work on them first. So orange. Let's bring up that saturation. There we go. Let's get some nice color in her coat. Yellow as well. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Put the blue back. Bring that down a bit. Greens. Let's find the balance there. That's looking pretty. Reds. Actually, the reds are doing all right. That's fine. Purples. Get a really purple tongue in there. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go overboard with it. That looks pretty good. Let's bring the magentas down a little bit. Don't oversaturate. And I do, but just not in this case. I'm going to push my... Do I have aqua in this photo? I do a little bit. Let's bring that down. Let's push my aquas a little more toward green. Because that'll... It's a bit more of an interesting lush color in the background. And that makes Audrey look really pretty. And then... Blues. I'm going to leave those kind of alone. I think the blue is actually is not helping us here because we want this photo is about greens and reds and yellows. Cool. Okay, that looks pretty good. I want to come up here back to my Audrey mask. And I want to bring up the saturation a bit. I'm going to adjust as I go, but yeah, let's bring up the saturation a bit. That's looking a little bit too much. Let's bring that back down. Let's come back to my main global adjustments. See if I can bring up the vibrance. Neither of these are doing exactly what I want them to do. They're both looking a little bit ridiculous. Let's do this. Let's come back to Audrey. Let's push her coloring a little bit more toward gold. There we go. That's how we're going to do it. That looks good. I'm happy about that. Now let's push this a little bit toward purple a bit just to get some of that green out of there. Let's come back down to color to adjust that a little bit more. Because we pushed... I feel like there's a little bit too much green on her. I pulled that back and I brighten the greens a bit. Kind of like that. Keep the blues in. What about this area here on her? I'm not loving. Let's grab the highlight adjuster and just sort of... Does not appear making much of a difference on her at all. Okay. Alright, let's see. Making a slight difference. Not making a difference to brightness though. Let's come back to her. Let's work on her mask for a sec. There we go. We'll bring the highlights up a little bit. And that will, I think, help with some of those more green patches. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with how Audrey looks there. I'm going to pull the vibrance back just a touch. Because I think it's easy to overdo that as I'm playing with saturation. Let's go ahead and give that 3 stars. And that's Audrey. Audrey looks amazing. She's so perfect and precious and pretty. Cool. So let's do a bird photo. Let's switch gears a little bit and do a bird shot. Because I'm gonna, let's see, where am I going with this? Oh yeah, here we go. Birds, Maddie, and Richard. All right. Let's do. Where's the screaming barn swallow? There we go. This is the photo I want to work on. Because got this shot. This photo, by the way, is captioned "Mom," because that's what this little guy is yelling. You can see he's got some of his baby fluff. And he's like, there's a whole collection of these guys sitting on a fence. This year's group of babies, and some of them are like this one, who are like looks mostly mature, but just has some of the fluff there. And you got this guy who is like just kind of still all fluff, and angry eyes, but they're all kind of like all sitting there yelling every time mom flew by. They were demanding food. So that's the photo we're going to start with. Give me one sec. Let's see. Let's work on this. All right. So the first thing I want to do, I think this should be a 4x5. I think that's a good idea. Let's bring this down so it's more focused on our bird here. You know, I kind of like this. I kind of like this framing where it looks like he or she is screaming into the void. There's something about having a center crop versus a side crop on this one. I think this is, you know, have room for the imaginary speech bubble. Okay, cool. Though I'm gonna do an edit on this and probably do a center crop. All right, let's start with the basics. Just play with some of our details here. This one's absolutely going to be a foreground background mask that I'm going to play with, but for now, I just want to work on just the basic global adjustments. Get some of our stuff. There we go. Okay, cool. That's good. Let's mask. Let's just start off by masking. Subject. Give me this bird. I'm curious if it's going to give me the bird and the post or just the bird. Okay, bird and some of the post. Interesting. All right, we want the whole post. Add to the brush. There we go. We want this whole thing. See, no reason not to have the whole thing. If I need to get just the bird, I can do that in a sec. All right, there we go. Let's get the brush on this thing, get it all pretty much selected, and now take a shot. I'm gonna duplicate and invert. Excellent. And this one with the subtract brush, I'm gonna clear off some of the spots that didn't quite make it. There we go. And sometimes, you'll see what I'm about to do, is sometimes the duplicate and invert reveals spots that weren't quite covered by the original mask. So I'm going to do another duplicate and invert, so I have the original one, and then I'm going to delete this first one. So these two are better off. Okay, cool. Background on this one, super easy. I'm just bringing the texture and clarity down. I've obviously already got that nice background, that nice out of focus background. I want to make sure we get that. I want to enhance it a little bit, but there's not much else I want to do with it. I really love how it looks. I love how it looks. I love the colors of it. If I want to push them up a little bit, I might, but honestly, I'm pretty happy. And then let's work on our foreground. And bring the texture up because I really want to just draw out, again, compensating, widening the distance between the blurriness of the background and the sharpness of the foreground. Clarity, not really. This is, again, I want to maintain the detail of the subject, and kind of clarity can be too harsh. This one I kind of want to maintain the, again, kind of fluffiness. Dehazing is going to do some stuff with color, but it's also going to darken to a degree that I don't want to, so I'm happy with this. Okay, nice and easy. Already done some of the highlights and contrast stuff. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, good. That looks great. I want to do one more mask, which you might have guessed is going to be eyes. I'm going to zoom in 300%. So we can get just the eye here. Just little circles. There we go. Love this guy. Okay. Highlights. Brighten that up. And again, this because this eye, you can see it, but I want it brighter. Let's bring up the whites a little bit. If I bring up the shadows, I'm going to be... The thing about this eye that I like is that it's got a reflection of the sky in there, but also the darkness around it because you're looking at the canopy of trees and the reflection. I don't want to brighten those darker areas. So I could bring up the blacks and kind of brighten that. I don't want to do that. I want to keep those dark areas dark and just kind of let the shape that already exists there be enhanced. So let's do that. Let's scroll down. Nope, give me my panel back. Lightroom, I swear. Okay, let's go out here to texture. Clarity. Clarity is actually helping. Clarity is giving me a little more of that darkness that I liked. And then dehaze is going to be, it's going to go that direction. We're going to leave that alone. I could desaturate and make it white. I think that stands out in the wrong direction. Let's keep where it is and keep it blue. I may desaturate it a little bit once I've upped the blues coming down here, because I know I'm going to bring those blues up when we get to color, which is where we're at now. But yeah, that looks good. And something you'll notice is that I was a little more aggressive with the brightness of the eyes in this photo than I was with the last one with Audrey and Theo. And the main reason for that is because you when the eye is smaller and there's other details to include, it is I want to make, you got to be a little more aggressive with it to make that pop. So yeah, all right, let's come back here. First things first, we're bringing up those blues, and we're going to bring up the brightness of the blues. There we go. I absolutely love this. I'm going to bring that up a little more. Probably wants to push the blue a little bit toward aqua just to get that nice, yeah, look at that. That looks great. Greens. I don't overdo the greens. A little bit of green, not too much. Oranges. Yeah, let's bring up the oranges. Not to the same degree as the blues. The blues are the main color. And then yellows. Yellows are okay. Yellows are actually kind of okay where they are. Yeah. Reds. Anything in red? I think there's a little bit of red in and around the mouth. Let's take a look at that. I brighten up the reds. A little bit. It's kind of covering that gap, but I don't really need it. Let's leave it alone. Let's see. We could brighten our oranges a bit, but that's gonna give us an edge I don't really want. Brighten our yellows. Bring them down. What does that look like? Bringing the yellows down a little bit helps give it a little more contrast front and back. I'm happy about that. Aquas. Sort of in play on an edge, but not really doing much. You're really not doing much. They never are. Aqua is my little pet favorite color thing to use. I don't really get to use it much. That's why I bring them up. If I put them back, yeah, let's bring them up down here. That just gives me a slightly harder edge around our little feathery friend. I had a teacher in high school who used to call everyone, the whole class, her fine feathered friends, and it was never comfortable. All right. Let's see. I want to bring the oranges up a little bit more. Maybe a bit. I do like the showcasing the fluff as long as the blue remains the main thing. Let's do this at 20. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's a good balance. I'm gonna bring this up to like 45 though. Let that be a little brighter or a little more saturated. Okay, cool. I love this bird. I think this bird is great. If anyone watching wants to name this bird, you're more than welcome to. We have a kind of a running thing going. I'm just adjusting the mic here. Yeah, there we go. Let's bring this a little closer. Do that with the mic muted and not on stream, Eric. That'd be smart. Whatever. You're all stuck here with me. Yeah, so that looks good. Out of curiosity, does this photo have some merit in black and white? Not as much. This photo really, the color really makes the difference here. So I'm really happy with that. One other thing I did say I was going to do, and I'm going to come back and do it, is I'm going to desaturate the eyes. Not all the way, but just a bit. Actually, let's see. Let's zoom in and look at these eyes before I make this call. Yeah, something like that. Again, makes the white stand out, makes it not look like it's the same part of the thing. Excellent. That looks great. So first off, 3 stars. Second off, we're going to create a virtual copy, which if you're in Lightroom and wondering how to do that, that's Control or Command apostrophe. And I'm going to recrop this so that it's centered. Because I do love a good center focus shot of a bird, and that's really pretty. Do I want to come down like that? It's almost putting him on the 3rd. I don't really want to do that. I kind of want him centered. Let's go ahead and see the... So if I center him, it's right there. That's not right. I want to, if I center the post. There we go. Cool. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I think I want a little more space above him. Yeah, that's it. That looks good to me. That looks very good. Excellent. We've got a bird. We've got a bird. Look at that. That's great. Then there's this freaking dude. I'm gonna do something with him. There's also this one after, like, caught me. He caught me taking pictures of him screaming at mom, and then he was like, "Hey, who told you could do that? Put the lens down." I didn't because, as is well established, birds don't get to give consent. Well, they can. Consent is hugely important, but yeah, they're out in public. They accept the same responsibility the rest of us do. All right, let's see. Let me know in the comments if we think birds can give consent. Okay, let's see. Do I want to work on another bird right now? I think I'm gonna work on a different bird. It's kind of what I'm thinking right now. I'm kind of feeling different birds. All right, let's go ahead and sort these again by 1 star. There's a bunch of photos that I'm certainly not going to use. All right, you know what? Let's do a vulture. let's do this. Let's do the shot of this turkey vulture because I have a thing. I kind of think turkey vultures are cool, for as much as they are, like. Here's the thing: if you gave me the choice between like, editing photos or taking photos of like a turkey vulture or like a goose, which are both certainly arguably trash birds. Yeah, I think I'm going turkey vulture. Turkey vulture I think is a much more interesting bird. Okay. Oh, there's a fun idea. All right, cool. So you notice if I bring the shadows up, I'm getting the branch as well. I don't want to do that yet. We're gonna come back to that. Though this photo is gonna be nice and stark in all the best ways. Okay. Yeah, clarity's looking good. We're gonna have some fun with this. Dehazing is gonna just go dark. Don't want to do that. Also, this is cool because like my friend Maddie, who I was taking these photos with, who is a phenomenal bird photographer. Like, I'm not bird photography has never been a thing I've been great at, and I'm like just by hanging out with her, I'm catching photos that I never would have caught. She's a magnificent bird photographer. Pointed out this weird thing that you can see kind of through a vulture's nose, which is just a bizarre quirk of this animal, and I was like, all right, that needs to be part of the photo now. Okay, we're gonna do two different things. I got a couple different ideas. Select subject. This should get me everything, because obviously it's a white background. And I've got a couple ideas for interesting. Okay, not what I wanted. Genuinely, not what I was expecting. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna do another one. Select the sky, because I want the background. I want everything that's white. I don't want anything else. Let's see if it gives me that, or it's gonna tell me it can't. There we. Okay, wait a minute. What part of this thing is not selected? You just selected pretty much the whole thing, guys. Get rid of that. New mask. Like background? Let's try that. For some reason you don't think the okay, let's get rid of that. Let's see. Let's try a color range and tell it to get white. And then we can push that up. Okay, new plan. That's actually not the worst. I want to add a sky selection, which will get me everything else, and then I want to subtract the subject, and that should clear off the bird. Okay, cool. I also want to subtract object brush, which I've become a big fan of when it works, and I'm going to subtract this, which should help me get rid of the branch. This got more complicated than I thought it was going to for a photo that has a completely white sky. That was not part of the plan. Let's see what we come up with. Wait for it. That's a song I haven't thought about in a while. Cool. I think that actually worked perfectly. Good. That object brush, honestly, underutilized tool. That object brush is a really good feature. Okay, cool. So now I've got, and I want to take a shot, duplicate and invert. Excellent. That's what I wanted. Okay, good. Beautiful. All right, so first things first, bird. Shadows up on the bird. Brighten this guy up and make sure I can see him a little better. Great. Highlights up on him? No, highlights were fine. I'll say highlights coming down is not a bad idea. Contrast coming up on him a little bit? Maybe. I'm going to use clarity and texture before I do that. Let's come back to that. Let's go back to the next shot, the other one that includes the branch. And let's crank up the, come down here, the texture and the clarity. That's going to pull up, that's going to make a nice, very nice harsh bird. All right, I'm also going to bring the shadows up a little bit here. That's overdoing it. Just a touch, maybe? A little bit? A little bit of something. I can also bring the amount down, just to get that balance. There we go. Because I want him to stand out nicely. I want the branch to have a little bit of texture, but not the same brightness that he has. That's looking pretty good. We're gonna play with saturation in a minute. Let's go out to our sky real fast. I bring that up, make sure that get that nice stark white in there. Yeah, it's all overexposed, which is good. Could push the whites even brighter. I'll say I should, because why not? Let's just completely do it. Let's see. Texture not making a difference. Clarity making a slight difference. Let's turn the clarity up because right now what I'm concerned about is the edges. If you look at the feathers here, if I take the clarity down, you get a little bit of you lose a little bit of detail. I want those to be harsh. Texture, not really making as much of a difference. Okay, cool. And then last thing, not that this one matters really at all, but we're going to desaturate, just to make sure that stays white. Okay, cool. This looks good. I'm happy with this. I'm gonna do some color work, and then I'm gonna do another version where it's just the silhouette. I think that'll be cool too. So let's see. Let's do this. I also want to check on how's my noise level. Actually, surprisingly pretty perfect. Okay, cool. Ooh, we gotta do a mask for the eye. Let's not forget that. Let's do that right now before I start messing with color. 300%. Hey, look at that. We are zooming in and seeing pixels. That's just great. Makes sense though, because we're 300% in. No one looks at a photo at 300%, or they shouldn't at least. That seems like a bad way to live your life. It's funny. Like there are certain things that I'm very detail oriented about, and certain things where I'm like, you're at some point forest for the trees, and we all have our spot where forest for the trees where trees become forest, but. You want to find, nope, give me that navigator back. You want to find that balance. Okay. This one seems like weird stuff is happening. If I bring the shadows up, what's going on there? Ooh, hey, that's just bizarre. Really draws attention to where that animal's eye is. I feel like it's further back than it should be in some of these shots. Leave that alone. Let's come down here to texture and clarity. Texture's doing almost nothing, doing a little bit. Clarity. We are looking for some version of verisimilitude. I want to see this at 50%. Yeah, that just looks like that's the wrong spot for that eye, but that's where it is. All right, cool. Saturation's not really the way to go on this one. Though I could shift the color and give this guy like these nice blue eyes. Get a pretty, get a very pretty vulture. Nah, we'll leave that where it is. So brightening that up a little more, I think, is a weirdly interesting way to go because it just shows you where that eye is, and it's so weird. God, birds are fascinating. Clarity up a bit. That's cool. Okay, I like it. Got some of that clarity, some of that glassiness in there. Still got some brightness. Man, that eye looks like it's in the wrong spot. I love it. Another fascinating reason I like to work with that. I do nature photography and the animal kingdom is because I find out so much about them. Because here's the thing. This is the thing I love about evolution is you can look at this and you gotta do some research and you gotta do some understanding, and there's plenty of information out there, and it's this kind of thing can be a huge springboard to get into stuff. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, why evolutionarily does this animal have eyes where they do? And I think that's really cool to think about, and how they might see the world different than we do in terms of just like literally seeing it. All right, color. Red, orange maybe, yellow. Yellow is the one making a difference on this one. Orange can say where it is. Cool. Magenta having any effect? Not particularly. Not a whole lot. This is really red or die. Ride or die? That doesn't work. That pun ride or die, red or die didn't really work. All right, let's brighten that up a bit, and then let's crank the saturation back up, because upping the luminance tends to decrease the saturation a bit because you're adding white, and like more saturation usually means darker. You don't usually get more saturation usually equals a darker color. So if we're going to brighten up the luminance and make the red brighter, we've also got to brighten up the saturation a bit more to keep that red in there. Let's see. Leave that alone. about contrast, and I'm really liking how that looks. That looks pretty cool. I think I want to bring this down. Actually, I'm gonna go back up to the mask and bring the shadows down on that guy because I'm really liking how that's coming out. Okay, are greens at play at all here? Maybe a tiny bit. I'm gonna push them up. I'm gonna brighten them up because if there's any green on the log, I want that to come through for whatever it is. I don't think aquas or blues are really having much to do out here. If there's any blue, it's probably in the sky, and that's not doing anything. So we'll leave that alone. All right, cool. That looks good. Let's come back up to our mask real quick. Mask of our bird. Bring those shadows down just a notch, so it feels like it fits in as part of the photo. That looks good. I love it. That's how you make a vulture look pretty. Honestly, vultures to me are kind of like the opossums of the bird kingdom, in that they're not pretty, but they're super interesting and super essential. And so I think they deserve to be noticed. I'm gonna pull this up a little bit. Maybe not that much, maybe just to there. Yeah, that's better. I like that this starts with a little bit, keeping the cutouts and the chaos in there. This whole photo is very craggy, and I think that's cool. Okay, yeah, happy with that. Really happy with that. 3 stars. Let's do a duplicate because I want to do a silhouette, which will be really easy. We're just gonna come back to our masks. Take this mask that is our bird, and we're gonna bring the blacks down. We're gonna bring the shadows down, and we're gonna bring the highlights down. That's fine. We're gonna come back to the other one. Same deal. Blacks down, shadows down. That's a bit much. Let's compensate here. Shadows back. That alone. Okay, so this mask is now doing nothing. Turn it off. This one here. Right. There we go. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. Little bits of stuff. Little bits. Turning the shadow. It's actually really pretty. Surprisingly pretty. Okay, hang on a second. We're gonna work on this. I didn't think about making the branch part of the photo, but I think that actually looks pretty good. Hello, Maria Lisa. Wasn't expecting to have you on the stream today. That's cool. There you go. A little bit of highlighting. That looks good. Cool. Look at that bird. That's a good bird. Okay, 3 stars already. I still want to do a silhouette. You know what? In hindsight, maybe I don't. These look identical. Slightly different. Not much, though. Interesting. This one, the eye got a little bit darker. Let's come back to, let's brighten up those eyes. Cool. It's funny. You're coming to a theater and you're watching me. I feel like that's I mean, you're working the theater. Usually people are watching you do your stuff. But cool. Glad you're here. Glad we're all looking at this bird. I love you too. Looking at this awesome turkey vulture. Just being a kick-ass bird. All right, that's cool. That's another good bird. Okay, I want to edit this puffball. This little fucking mad fluff. Look at him. He's so grumpy. He's perfect. I love him. Okay. First thing first. Nope, no, don't want all of those. Just want the one. Actually, I might do all 3 of these right now. Let's get this, and we're going to do the same deal. We're going to sync. No, none of the masks. Actually, yes. Let's do both of these masks. Just the background one. I can adjust from there. Don't need the crop. Don't need anything else. So synchronize. So, and now we wait for it. All right, there we go. So now we've got this guy, this shot, which is now a little more ready to go. We're gonna do some more work with that. Let me click off and click on here. This one's gonna get 2 stars because I know I'm gonna come back to it. Now let's look at this guy, this little mad little fluff, who's just a tiny little nightmare. Okay, let's work on this. First, I'll turn off the brush. The brush doesn't apply. That brush was for the. All right, let's see the overlay. Zoom in. All right, yep, just got the tiny little angry bird. He's just so cute. Yeah, and he's a weird little shape. That's perfect. Okay, cool. So let's do that. Do I want to add in the... I think I'm going to do two things. Okay. So for starters, this is selecting the area around him, which is... Let's see. Do I want that? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to subtract. Come on. Subtract the linear gradient. And we're going to get rid of... It's going to flip on me? No. Cool. We're subtracting... Yeah, okay, so we're subtracting like this. Basically, what I want to do is get rid of the post here. Zoom in. Something like that. Is that good? Yeah, looks good. And then I want to add another linear gradient. And we're going to get the bottom here. So we'll have the background and we'll have the bird on the post. Zoom in, zoom down, and move this to the edge. It's a very pouty bird, I will agree with you. And it definitely, that bird definitely looks like it's not being snuggled enough. I completely agree. Zoom back out. Just need to tilt this a bit. There we go. Cool. All right, good. So now we've got our background selected. We're going to do a usual duplicate and invert. Everybody take a shot. Cheers. All right, I'm going to take this other linear gradient down here at the bottom. I'm going to push this up a little bit. Might have to clean that up a bit, but I think it's okay for now. And I want a new mask, selecting just the subject. Oh, shows the sky. Nope, don't want that. Go away. New mask, subject. Because I just want the bird, just in case. Okay, we might not even use it. Go away. Okay, first things first. Let's work on our bird. Actually, let's do our global adjustments first, which already should be sort of done. Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. Oh, one other thing I want to do. Hey, Shelby Lynn. Welcome to the stream and welcome to the fun. I'll do one more thing. I want to duplicate this one. Not invert, just duplicate it. And then I want to get rid of the subject. So that now I'm going to, let's see. I hit subtract. Now, let's see. Select object. I want to get this post. Let's see if it'll give me those nice sharp edges that I want. Without getting me any bird. But that's fixable, actually. Cool. Object selection takes some time. My angry fluff ball, is that the bird, or are you referring to Shelby Lynn that way? Because I feel like she would identify that way too as well sometimes. Break a leg with all the theater stuff. Oof. Makes sense. Cool. Good. And now let's invert that. And if I get rid of both these linear gradients. Undo. Going back a little bit. We're going to go back to here. I want those linear gradients back. There we go. That works. Okay, cool. And then we're just going to... It's not really changing anything, so I can go away. Okay, cool. So I've got the bird, I've got the post, I've got the post with the bird, and I got the background without either one, which is great. Okay. For starters, we're going to start with the background one. I'm going to bring the texture down even more. I don't want to go as far back as I thought. Clarity down. And this photo actually keeping some of that clarity is a good thing because it gives me a little bit more definition around the puffiness, and the puffiness in this photo is more important than it has been in any previous photo. Let's also quickly do some cropping because I want to center this guy. 4x5. Bring it down. Actually, take it back. 11x17. Ah, that looks good. Yeah, angry puffy bird with this nice, nice line here. Okay. Let's see. Next thing I want to do. I want to come back to. I want to come over to here for a second. Actually, let's go. Let's do bird end thing. It's also. Yeah, I'll stick with this for now. Texture up. Clarity down. Get the detail in there while maintaining puffiness. Well, it's always important to maintain puffiness. That looks good. I'm just happy with that. I'm happy with how this silly bird looks. I'm going to come over to here to our mask for just the wood, and I'm going to bring the texture down just a touch so the bird does stick out a little bit more. I'm also going to push this that direction because I could push it blue, and there's already some blue in it, but I think I want to push this a little bit more gold. Not much, just a bit. If I dehaze it a bit. Bring up the clarity. That's the way to go. Clarity up, texture down. There we go. The shadows up a bit so it gets a little bit less. Yeah, I want it to be a part of the photo without it being a substantially contrasty element. So that looks good. All right, back to this. I love this little puffball. This thing is freaking adorable. Just, he's so grumpy. He's so mad. A couple of these grumpy photos were right after mom flew away and didn't come feed all the babies. So the babies who did not need food, they seemed fine. Just one of those. We are babies, and we have only learned to do two things, and one of them is we haven't learned to fly. We've learned to make noise, and we've learned to be fed. So when mom comes by and doesn't feed us, something is clearly wrong, and therefore we need to make noise and be mad about it. New mask. Let's get the eyes. In this case, I definitely want to be zoomed in more. Yeah, Shelby, we were asking the question a second ago of whether birds can give consent. We're welcoming opinions on this topic. So, what are our thoughts on can birds consent to having their pictures took? Because according to the ACLU, the answer is no. Weirdly enough, not bird specific, but the ACLU does have guidelines for what kinds of when photos can be taken. I mean, yeah, but this bird's 2 months old. Like, I'm not gonna say I don't think this bird gets to count as an authority yet. They're still learning shit. All right, same deal as last time. A little bit of desaturating, a little bit of clarity to get some glassiness into those eyes. There we go. So it looks like zoomed out. So it looks like 50% where I can actually see what's going on. Yeah, makes the eyes stand out nicely. Cool. Okay, let's do a little more texture on the bird. So let's turn this mask back on. Just my little bird guy. Yeah, this guy can be fluff. Like this one, unlike some of the others where the fluffiness is sort of incidental, this one you can't escape the fluff. So it gives me a little more leeway to turn the texture up. Bringing the clarity down actually helps. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what we have not named this one or this one. These two birds need names. They have not been named. They deserve to be named. Yeah, so feel free to give our two little barn swallows names here. Okay. Let's come back down to our color sliders, which again we synced up. So, but in this case, here's the thing. The last photo had more blue in it because we saw the side of the bird. Here the blue is less, so we want to bring up the blues. aquas. Again, I want the aquas to be something. There's not. Let's put the greens just exactly where they were. I pushed the aqua toward blue. There's a little bit of aqua on his head, it looks like. Maybe. Who even knows? Skeet and Ulrich. I'm sorry. We're doing Skeet Ulrich. I guess I'm gonna pronounce it Ulrich though. This one just looks like Ulrich. Just a. Yeah, he's just pissy. Okay, I think my mic is back to working. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, let's see. What are you vibrating about? Excellent. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with this. Color and everything wise. I want to come back to the background for a second. I'm going to push it a little more toward green. That's a bit much. Let's go a little bit less. I'm going to bring the blacks down a bit. Give us a little more darkness. Saturate a bit more. Maybe? I don't know. I might be overdoing it. Let's leave it as is. Kind of want to bring up the clarity, though. Bring the shadows down? Shadows down. That's what I wanted to do. I want to give a little more texture and detail back there. I think that was good. Cool. Yeah, I'm happy with how this bird looks. Maybe. I'm going to blame Ulrich on making me laugh and messing up the mic. Okay, cool. So that's yeah. I think we're good on Ulrich here. Let's do a landscape. Let's go back to a landscape shot. Because I've got about 10 more minutes, and I want to do this landscape. So let's do this. We're gonna go to Cromwell Valley Park, and these shots are all this one tree for the most part. I got a couple shots looking down a path, but let's work on this. All right, my one star rating in there, so I pick up my faves. Yeah, and I got some cool shots of this gorgeous sycamore tree that we can have some fun with. But the shot I want to work on is, here's the thing. So we had the sun right up there. And then we had, and I was like, all right, I want to get that, but I want to get the tree as well. So I took, basically just adjusting my f-stop, took 3 different exposures. One at f22, one at f11, and then one at f5.6. So let's see. First things first. This is on a wide lens, so this actually matters that I want to enable profile correction and kind of flatten that out. Though I don't want to distort it too much. I don't want to take the distortion down too much because I do actually like how that looks. I've always liked kind of the wide lens sort of bubbling. I think that's a cool thing. Cool. All right. Chromatic aberrations. Yeah, let's get rid of that. We're gonna have some edges on this one, I think. Not doing really anything else. I'm gonna keep the crop as is for now, but I'm gonna take these 3 photos. I'm going to sync them, check none, calibration and lens corrections, synchronize. So these guys will also have the same distortion levels. Excellent. And now, in the interest of making the stream freeze and skip even more than it's going to, photo merge HDR. Let's see if this works. And here's the fun thing. Technically, I mean, for a photo like this where I'm trying to get some sun in there, it does matter. But you can technically do HDR. There we go. All 3 merged successfully. Lose the overlay for a second. Okay, cool. I take to auto settings. What are you going to do? That looks pretty good. I'm going to work on that a little bit. All right, if I can tell you to go to none, what's this going to look like? But you can usually, you can actually, if you're shooting raw, you can, what's the difference here, switching between these two? There's a little bit in the clouds, but that's probably okay. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay. Let the auto settings be a thing. If I'm gonna click merge, and it's gonna take a minute or two. Let me make sure I'm not getting any weird edits in here. I think that looks pretty good. This is where I am actually gonna check for errors and for copies, but I think we're in good shape. Okay, merge. Now we're gonna skip a little bit as this creates it. But yeah, if you're shooting raw, if you shoot a good middle of the road exposure, and you can actually, most cameras can do this as well with exposure bracketing. So that's a thing we can talk about at some point as an in-camera option. But if you're editing in Lightroom, there we go. There's my HDR one. Let's load that up. Cool. Once again, setting for 1 star. There we go. And we can edit this. Of course, we're skipping a little bit now. Sweet. All right, let's come back to our crop and let's adjust this. Bring that down. I like having the height. We're going to lose the edge of the photo a little bit here and there. So let's come in. Yeah, something like that. Cool. Make sure I'm not actually getting that white. Oh, a little bit of that white edge. Okay, we got to bring the crop down a little bit. Like that. Cool. Okay. That's better. So, yeah, you can do an HDR if you take a photo that's sort of centrally exposed. Actually, I can do it as an example. I'll do this at the end of this. Okay. You brought the exposure down by less than a... All right. Clarity. Yeah, this is the photo I want to play with. Clarity. Texture. Yeah, same deal. Lose your saturation. I'll play with that. I'll do color individually. All right. Yeah, highlights all the way down. Blacks, not really making much of a difference, I don't think. I'm going to do that with color if I want to do that. Gotcha. Hello. Welcome to the chat. Bring the whites down a bit because I want to start getting that sun in there because I'm going to do a mask for the sky. And then shadows. No, shadows I want to brighten up. Maybe not that much. That looks good. Cool. Let's see. Do I want to adjust the crop? I think I want to bring the crop in a little bit here. And we're doing a very vertical shot, which is going to be impossible to print or share on Insta, but we're doing that anyway. Thank you. I'm glad you like the photo. Let's see. All right. Yeah, that's looking good as a start. Let's work on it some more. Let's do a sky mask. Let's start with that. Anyway, I keep saying you can do HDR, and I keep not finishing the sentence because I get distracted. And I'm probably getting distracted here. But anyway, if you want to do an HDR without having done the 3 exposures or the 3 or more exposures when you take the photo, that's looking pretty good. Highlights down, whites down, and maybe not. Yeah, I want to darken up that sky and really get some detail in there. Make sure get the sun as an element. That is what I'm talking about. That's looking good. If I put the highlights back, we're gonna lose it. So let's bring it down just like that. It is. So this photo is this actually is a handheld shot. And usually the way I will do that is, let's see, that's what I'm gonna work on. Okay. Usually the way I will do it is, where's my camera? Here we go. So I'm doing a handheld shot. The way I'll do it is, I'll get it stable. I'll get the framing that I want, and I'll have my thumb on on the f-stop or on the shutter speed wheel, and I will just, as quickly as I can, just keep it framed up, boom, adjust, boom, adjust, boom, and just do it like that. Just kind of click, just try to keep the framing as consistent as I can, and obviously if I go to the crop on this photo, you can see kind of up around the edges here. I can't zoom in on here, but if you can see there's a little bit of overlap. There's a white framing because it had to do a little bit of work to align the 3, even though they were taken that way. So there's gonna be some little issues, but that's a thing you can totally work on. The other thing you can, let me finish this photo and then I will talk about the other thing you can do, because the other thing you can do I think is really cool. I don't know if I need to do any other masking. Let's come down here because I think I can do the rest with color sliders. Let's come down here to green, and I want to push my greens a little more that way, and push my yellows a little bit toward green to get some of that. Pushing the yellows a little bit toward green, it might be the way to go, because I want to get a little more of that lushness in there. There we go. Orange is not doing us any favors. Let's turn the blues up. Yeah, that's good. This is making it's a little oversaturated, but it's helping get that sun to be noticeable when you look at it from here, which I really like. Aquas. Hey, Aqua is actually here. Yeah, let's bring the aquas in. I think we're actually not overexposed anywhere. That's insane. Not really underexposed anywhere either. That's super cool. And we don't have a lot of color, a lot of edging around the tree. This photo's coming out great, guys. I'm really happy with this. Yellows. We could oversaturate them a bit, but I don't really want to. Oranges? Not really making much of a difference. Okay. I don't think reds or blues are gonna, or reds or magentas are gonna do anything. Let's talk about brightening stuff and darkening it. Something like this is where I might get some fringing. Let's see if I can bring this down and try to avoid too much of that. This actually looks pretty good. Let's see, greens, could brighten and darken them. Maybe a bit, but I don't really want to. I want to have the brightness in there. Yellows. Bringing the yellow up a little bit's not bad. That actually, looking at the thumbnail over here is making me really happy. Let's see. Aquas. Actually, aquas as a brightening element isn't bad. It kind of feels like it's tying the whole thing together. Should be supposed to be streaming at 1080. Let's see. Orange, not really doing anything. Yeah, bring the yellows up a bit to kind of saturate that up a little bit. I think is a good idea. Cool. That makes me really happy. Actually, I like how that looks, and it kind of did what I was hoping it would do. There's one other thing I kind of want to do. Let me see if I can do this. So let's do some linear gradients. This is gonna be interesting if I can pull this off. We're gonna do kind of some interesting vignetting. I'm gonna do that. We're gonna add a linear gradient. Actually, I might need to intersect these. Yeah, I do. Okay, delete that. We're going to take this. We're going to intersect with a linear gradient. Come in here, just like that. Coming down and getting the tree. And now we're going to invert that mask. And we're going to bring the shadows down. And even the blacks a little bit. There we go. And let's do a duplicate and invert, because that's going to be a little bit hotter than I want it to. So I'm bring the highlights down a bit. Let's see, bring the whites down. That's going to be way too much. Let's leave that alone. Yeah, something like that. That gives us a nice gives us a nice look at, kind of helps us bring our attention to the sun, helps us give it that feeling that it is kind of bringing our attention right to the center, like it's in the spotlight. And I think that was cool. That was the effect I kind of wanted to create. I'm gonna come down here to my blues and brighten them back up, because I darken them a bit, but I want to bring that up a little more. And then let's see, anything else I want to do? I think this is a little bit. This one's a little bit high contrasty, so let's bring the contrast down just a touch. That's not what I want to do. Brighten up the shadows. Yeah, I'm really happy with how that looks. All right, 3 stars. Very cool. All right, let's do one more. And here's what I was talking about, being able to do HDR. If you can't do it handheld, it's another way to do it. And here's how we're going to do it. All right, so got another photo of our tree. This is a bit more of a landscape. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do, I don't want to start with this. Again, same kind of thing. We're going to do profile corrections, distortion down. I like that little distortion. Cool. So we're going to do that. We're going to come up here to, and there's a whole bunch of stuff we can do here. But if I wanted to do some HDR, I think I can probably do this with 2 different photos. I can probably do this. I'll say what I'm about to do, I can do in photo, because shooting raw, and this photo, like, because I'm a little overexposed in that one spot, but other than that, not much, and I can do a lot with this. But if I wanted that HDR look, what I would do is I would do a duplicate. I would do 2 virtual copies of this photo, and this one down here we're going to expose for the sky. So highlights coming down, shadows coming down. I want this to be the sky. White's coming in. Let's get that sky really in there. Cool, looks good. This one I'm gonna kind of leave alone, just as exposing for the mid-ground, for the mid-ranges. Like, leave that alone. And then I'm gonna come here to this third one, and I'm gonna expose for the ground, which means brightening up the shadows, getting that to look the way I want it to look. Highlights can, yeah, I want to bring those up as much as I want to. I'm only looking at the ground here. I'm not going to mess with clarity or texture or any of that yet. And then I will take all three of these, settings, or no, photo merge, HDR. And the nice thing is, because it's the same photo 3 times, there's not going to be any bit of like adjusting to align them. There's not going to be any, shouldn't be any ghosting as it tries to get, make 3 things that 3 photos that were taken at slightly different times and tries to get them to match. So that's the good news. Unable to merge. That's weird. Let's go to none, see if I can get it to do that. Because these are the same photo. There we go. Okay, cool. And now, if I click merge, it's going to create the new one, which means I'm going to skip a little bit, but that's cool. And this is the way, because I'm shooting raw and I've got the leeway to do this, I can do HDR. Is that it? Is that the new one? No. There's my new photo. There it is. Cool. And now I can go back to adjusting settings. Stop messing with my exposure, seriously. Or my contrast. I don't like using those. Those are tools I'm not fans of. All right, so I can bring the highlights down. I can put the whites kind of back where they were. Bring the blacks down a bit, but I'm actually pretty happy with I'm really happy with how this looks. Genuinely, honestly. I want to crop this anymore? Not really. I'm actually very happy with how with the composition here. Maybe even in a little bit, but I want to have this tree be the focal point. And if I go in this far, now I'm losing the breadth of the sky and the curve of the landscape there. That I think is really cool. Let's see. Okay, so clarity, certainly something for a landscape shot that I want to do. Texture, yeah, let's bring the texture up. Let's go heavy on this. I like that idea. And then dehazing a little bit. I think this is what I'm going to come back to, because this one I could see spending a lot of time with, and I'm already running up on how long I want to be streaming for today. So I can feel myself sort of starting to fade on it. I don't want to do that. Let's bring those whites. Let's leave that alone. I'm going to do that with masking. Let's do a mask of the sky. Oof. Cracking my knuckles there. So this is the other way to do HDR. If you didn't take the photo with take multiple photos to merge, you can do it in post as long as you're shooting raw and you've got enough to work with. You can 100% do it in post. And really get some of those nice HDR kind of multiple image crispness in there, with just by creating virtual copies, exposing, and then editing, doing basic edits on one for the foreground or the dark parts, one for the bright parts, and then merging them that way, and you get a really just the crispness and the sharpness of this photo is just breathtaking for me. I really love it. And it's one of these photos that I think we've managed to achieve we've got both the forest and the trees, because you can, looking at the photo in the thumbnail, has this gorgeous, you see the curve of you notice the curve, you notice the tree, you notice the sky, you notice kind of the individual shapes, and when you look at it closely, you've got the detail in the grasses here, and the texture in the clouds. And so yeah, really happy with how this looks. That said, I'm going to give it 2 stars because I want to come back to it. And man, I love this one. I want to adjust the color on this. I think that those greens are a little bit much. There we go, something like that. That's better. All right. Well, with that all said, I'm gonna bring back a picture of Theo because that makes me happy. Let's see. Where's the picture of Theo? There we go. Fetch with Theo and Audrey. And we're going to sort by 3 stars this time. 3 stars, please. There we go. There's our shot of Theo. And there's plenty more shots of Theo and Audrey to work with. But this is where we started. This is where we're going to end. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me on this and for checking in on the stream today. Super cool to get to share these photos. Going to definitely be coming back to the bird photos, to Theo and Audrey. We got plenty more puppy photos to work on, and a few more birds that I want to play around with. Yeah, and that is, and thank you. Yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of this. Let me come back to just me. Yep, these photos will be on my Insta probably by the end of the day. And then if you've enjoyed this stream, thank you so much. This video will also be posted on YouTube if you want to go back and rewatch it once Twitch deletes it. But in the meantime, if you're enjoying the work I'm doing and you would like to support me, you can go to my website, erichackler.com, and you can check out my photography there. You can check out my film work. And if you feel inclined, you enjoying the photos, you want a photo that speaks to you and is a part of a story you want to tell, maybe think about buying a print or getting some postcards, because we have those, and postcards are cool. They're some of my favorite national parks and photos from around the U.S. And then you can connect with people and send them around to whoever you want to. So if you want to support me on the channel, that's the best way to do it. But if not, you're just enjoying spending time with me, that means the world. And I'm so happy that I get to share my process with you and share this. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for being part of this. Tomorrow I will be streaming again around the same time, but we're going to be working on film. We're going to be editing more of the chainsaw fight from Last Wave. And in the meantime, stay safe. Be kind. Keep making the awesome work that you do. And if there is, to send you off with a little piece of advice, if there is something that you need to do but haven't done yet, today might be the day to do it. Today might be the day to take that risk, because pretty much every time I've had those moments of like, I know I need to do this and then I haven't done it. Those moments when I have done it, it has. The weight it takes off me and the worlds of difference that it's made in my life have been good. So if this is the moment to do it, take that risk. That's how we create art. That's how we make our world better. All right. Friends, be safe, be kind, be well, and we will do this again tomorrow. Take care.